You're listening to Reignite, a podcast about the constant quest to do and be our best. I'm MJ.
And I'm Matt, a.k.a. Stormageddon.
And this week, we have Drew Mick of Headline Heroes.
Hey, Drew. Welcome.
Oh, hi. Thanks for having me.
So, I met Drew through the, Drew, I think, connected with us on Twitter and by email first, but then I realized that he was also in the My Brother and Me podcast group, which was very fortuitous. That's how I make all my friends.
That's how I got onto your podcast, so yeah.
Yes. Can you tell us about Headline Heroes? I was listening to it last week, and it's a lot of fun.
So Headline Heroes, that's my podcast that I do with my two friends, Nate and Tanner. And our premise is we take a random, usually wacky, bizarre news headline, and we create a comic book superhero or supervillain origin story out of it. We use it as inspiration to make some sort of hero or villain out of it. So it gets to be really fun, really crazy. Sometimes we create something like legit, but usually it's just crazy.
What is the weirdest headline you've used?
Oh, man. What's a good... I can't not help but think about the one that we just recently did, because we were so grossed out that we usually give credit to the person who contributed the article to, but like we were so grossed out by it that we just plowed on through that and didn't do that, so we got to make up for that later. But it was woman finds 4 bees in her eyes.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, that one was going around social media, so yeah, it was real gross. But we ended up making a supervillain out of it, who she basically shot bees out of her eyes and went around collecting sadness from tears and put it into sad. It was a whole thing. Jeez.
Yikes.
You know, if I had bees in my eyes, I'd probably be a supervillain too.
Yeah, that's true. I'd be very angry, to say the least.
Or I would be in a hospital.
Well, yes. That's the correct answer.
Oh, God. So... this is a Mass Effect podcast.
Wait, it is? What?
Yeah.
What?
I know there were a couple of episodes where it was a little iffy if this was a Mass Effect podcast or
That's
not.
true.
Is it a Star Wars podcast? Is it a Skyrim podcast? Who knows?
Yeah.
But that being said, what has your experience with Mass Effect been?
So I was thinking about this earlier today, and I got onto Mass Effect in 2009 when I entered college. So it was my freshman year, and I never had an Xbox before that point until I shared a room with my roommate. He had his Xbox, so I started playing random games by his and random games of his, and I picked up Mass Effect and I started playing it. And I'll be honest, I put it back down and kind of forgot about it for 2 months. I just couldn't get into it.
Was it because it was Mass Effect 1?
It was Mass Effect 1, yeah, 2009, and it was just like,
Same,
I will destroy you, and just bad. I couldn't get into it. And then later on that same first semester, something clicked in my mind, and I thought, okay, maybe I'll give this another shake. And so I did, and plowed through it. Really appreciated the story and the lore that they were weaving. And then I finished it, and I was real bummed because I was like, well, shit, now what? Turns out Mass Effect 2 was due out in the next month by the time I finished. So that was an easy wait for me. The real problem was between Mass Effect 2 and Mass Effect 3.
Yeah, that was a long wait for all of us, because I think most people I knew either got into it with Mass Effect 1 or through Mass Effect 1 got into it when 2 came out. But I think just about everybody I knew who was on the bandwagon was on it by 2. So 3 was a long wait.
Yeah. And I could not wait for when that trailer dropped for 3. I was just ecstatic.
Oh, the cinematic one?
But
that one was great.
With the big, well, I won't talk about it, but pretty excited.
Matt,
I was just, oh, sorry.
No, I'm sorry. I was going to ask Matt if we had broken up before 3 came out or not, because I can't remember.
I don't think so. I think we were still together when 3 came out, but I don't remember. Time is wibbly wobbly.
Yeah, Matt was my connection, so. That's why it's relevant, because without Matt, I had no access to the game.
That's true. I mean, you're a big girl. You would have figured it out eventually, but yes, I was your access point, as it were.
Yeah.
I was just thinking about this too. I bought an Xbox only so I could play Mass Effect.
That's the first game I bought for my Mass Effect. The first game I bought for my Xbox.
Well, I mean, you're not wrong.
Was Mass Effect. The first 2 games I bought were Mass Effect and Rock Band. That's literally why I bought an Xbox.
I think I went home that first summer in college, and I had a PS3, and I started playing Dead Space, and then I just like couldn't help but compare it to Mass Effect because, like, you know, sci-fi, and so I went out and bought an Xbox 360 and called it good and bought that game.
Nice.
Now I miss Rock Band.
I do too.
Rock Band was awesome.
It was.
I love Rock Band.
We could do a whole episode.
If you could get a good crew.
Yeah, I once won a Rock Band competition.
Holy shit! What?
Only because the band that we were up against in the finals got overzealous and picked a heavy metal song, whereas we put our skill level on max difficulty but picked an easier song, and so they failed out and we got through, and so we won.
Matt, that could be the plot of a movie.
It could.
I would watch it.
It really could. And like I spent thousands of dollars on Rock Band between DLC and between DLC, additional instruments, and all of the games that came out. Rock Band 1, 2, 3, Beatles, like definitely at least $1,000, and I don't have any of it anymore, and it's sad.
Yeah.
I would always play drums because no one else wanted to be drums, and I was like, all right, fine,
I guess I'll do the thing.
I'll do it.
We are getting off track as much as I love Rock Band.
Yes.
Before we start with our summary of this mission, I wanted Drew to please recap what his choices in Mass Effect 1 most commonly are.
Most commonly. Okay,
Yeah.
that was going to be my question. Most commonly, it's Paragon, because you have to be a true monster to do Renegade. A pure Renegade, which I've done, and you feel horrible, but I've done it. But I think mostly it's been Paragon. Lately, and I think I've done it a few times, I've done playthroughs where I think maybe you two are doing it, where it's whatever your gut is, or maybe what you're feeling in the moment, trying your best to like play it out as you would as a human.
Yeah.
And so that's always been my favorite one. But then again, it turns into very Paragon.
Yeah, it feels that way because you're trying to be your best self and you feel like I would do this right thing, right?
There was a part, and we're going to talk about it in this mission, where the Renegade option is just so heartless and so useless, and we'll get there, but it just makes you feel like a real monster.
Yeah, I think what's interesting is I feel like as the first Mass Effect, you are an absolute monster if you choose all the Renegade stuff. Like they are really just dick moves. But in the second and third game, especially by the third game, and we'll test this theory when we get to it with the podcast, but I feel like it becomes grayer. Like Renegade stuff and Paragon stuff becomes a little grayer because of everything that's going on. And that's a theory I'm testing in Mass Effect 2 because I think that's the case. And
I totally agree with you there.
Like once you get burdened by all of the things you know that are going to happen, I feel like it's very easy for me to choose Renegade choices when dealing with the Elusive Man. We've mentioned that before already because I kind of want to be a dick
because fuck
to him.
the Elusive Man. I hate him so much.
Also, I think, MJ, I think you've mentioned in past episode, like everyone's a bit more punished in this game now that it's been a few years.
Yeah.
Everyone
and
is
I completely
tortured.
agree with that. Like, I'm feeling that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, right now, at this point, Miranda's kind of being just horrible to you. And I don't like her that much. So I'm kind of being snippy with her. Jacob, yeah, sure. But I don't completely trust him yet. So maybe some more Renegade stuff comes through there.
I have thoughts about Jacob. Okay. So let's get into the summary. Did I write one? That would have been smart if I did. I didn't. Okay, so let's do this on the fly. Normally I write up a quick summary. Okay. So in this mission, we are going after a character only known as the Professor, who we discover is actually named Mordin Solus. He is a Solarian who has a very mixed reputation on the Omega. Most people think of him as a good person because he's a doctor, he runs a free clinic, he wants to take care of people, but a lot of people are scared of him because he also gunned down a bunch of people who threatened his clinic. Very interesting character we're about to meet. Shepard goes in with their two colleagues. They discover that the ward is on lockdown and on quarantine because there's a plague that Mordin is trying to deal with. As we go through, we meet some characters, we have some choices that we need to make, and when we finally get to Morden, he tells us that the only way he'll come with us is if we help him end the plague. We go on through, we discover that Vorcha are responsible for the plague, and they're doing it on the order of the collectors. When we come back, Morden decides to come with us, and we have our first squad mate. That is not Miranda or Jacob.
Or as
they were forced on us.
Well,
Important.
Or as we'll find out, Zaid, because there's actually another person. But
there
we'll
was
get
also
to that.
Zaid. Well, Zaid is DLC that we both have, and not necessarily everybody has the DLC.
That's true.
So.
He is not part of the original game. But okay, but before we even get to do all that, we get to do what seems like mine and MJ's favorite thing, which is check in with people on the ship.
I love check-ins. Check-ins
Yes.
are my favorite. I have so many notes.
And so, okay, so first with the check-ins, I'm assuming most of us go to the cockpit first because, like, you're in the brand new ship. You want to talk to Joker because he has the best lines. And he literally says one of my favorite lines in the whole second game when he's describing, like, he's getting really excited about the comfy seats and how it's not a priority on an Alliance ship, but on private frigates, they're all about comfort. And he's like, except for, that other thing. It's like ship cancer. Every time I hear him do that, like say that line, I think the exact line is, except for that other thing that, nobody wants to talk about. It's like ship cancer. I die.
That's almost what
I lose
it is.
it. Yeah.
My favorite line
But-
from this moment... Oh, I'm sorry, Drew. You go.
Oh, I was just going to say, but real leather. So
Yeah, but real leather, exactly.
The real leather is important. My favorite line from this moment is where he goes, "You'll see, it will be just like old times, but better." And then you say, "I hope so. I died."
And he goes,
Yeah,
you're such a
bummer."
downer.
You're such a downer.
It's so good. Yeah, literally, like, that's the best response because it's my favorite thing about Joker's interactions also in the first game and this game is for the most part, some of his best lines are as you're walking away are stuff that you can't react to. Like, you can't come back at. And that was great. Like, oh yeah, I hope it's better. I died last time. And for him to just call you a downer for dying, which speaks to the core of your friendship and how you guys like to take the piss, guys or gals or whoever, like to take the piss out of each other, is really great. And it's just, they're some of my favorite interactions in the first game, as limited as they are, and they get even better in the second game.
Yeah, his
I
personality...
remember thinking at this point... Oh, I'm sorry.
Nope, it's okay, you go.
This keeps happening.
It's all good.
Because we can't see each other.
Yeah. I remember thinking to myself, like, when you go up and talk to Joker and he does that ribbing and, like, it's unique dialogue, I'm thinking, wow, this game is going to be way better than Mass Effect 1 for interaction and dialogue. Like, because what you said to Joker in the first game was, like, pretty much the same things over and over every time. Well, yeah, more or less that, but every time he has something just unique to say, and I think they've really fleshed his character out.
Yeah, I like that you can talk to Joker more. His personality comes through more strongly. He'll have something to say about each squad mate that you pick up, and he's just...
But about those last ones you went out with.
Yeah. My favorite thing also about Joker is, like, some of his best lines are about characters we haven't even gotten yet. Like, and I'm not going to spoil it because they'll come later, but there's one other, I think it's the next mission we're doing. When that squad mate comes back, it's one of my favorite lines about that character ever that Joker's ever said. We'll cover that.
I think I know what you're talking about.
I know what you're talking about. I'm really happy about Joker because he's just so excited to fly again.
Yeah.
And I can't blame him. He was grounded for 2 years, and with his Rolex syndrome, that's like a death sentence. He can't do the thing that he loves, and he can't really do much of anything else.
Yeah.
And if the Alliance took away the only thing that matters, I don't blame him for turning to Cerberus, who are offering him back the thing that is going to make him feel alive again.
Yeah.
Really defines him, yeah.
And of course, at this point, we can also talk to Edie, our new intelligence, who has a lovely voice. Yeah, it's funny going through this playthrough. Like, in the back of my mind, I have what I know about Edie later in the game and in the next game, which colors my perception of her. It just does. I know the character. But that said, it is very easy living in this character's skin, in this version of Shepard's skin, to be suspicious of Edie, because you've had poor experiences with robots before. I know it's
Yeah.
not the same, but
Every other robot.
pretty much every other robot has wanted to kill you in some degree or another. And so knowing that there's an artificial intelligence, which is essentially what the Geth are, sort of, a free-thinking robot technology, you're probably pretty realistic to be hesitant, especially since it's programmed and created by Cerberus, who you also don't trust.
I really appreciate, though, that Edie is honest about what she can and cannot tell you.
Yeah.
She could easily be programmed to lie about what she can and can't tell you and just be like, I don't have that information. But she blatantly tells you, there is a block on my system. I cannot give you this information. I am not allowed.
Those dialogue choices are just like, hey, what's the funding like for Cerberus? And I was like, there's no way I'm going to be able to get this information. And sure enough, can't.
No. Yeah.
But you have to ask. You know?
Right. You want to know what
you're nothing gained.
Right. Exactly. You have to push the boundaries. I also and we'll get to this a little more later, but when you go to certain areas of the ship that you can't access, Edie just chimes in and goes, you can't have access to that. And I'm just kind of like a defeated child. I'm like, oh.
It is very childish. You're like, this is my ship, dang it.
I'm just like,
how do I not have access?
I have feelings about this ship, by the way.
Oh, boy.
I was going to wait until we got to the next floor, but I'm going to talk about it now. Who the fuck designed these bathrooms?
Oh, yeah, they're terrible.
The bathrooms are so bad. There's no privacy.
Also, if you go into the opposite sex's bathroom, Edie will chime in and tell you you're going into that bathroom. Yep. But if you do the same sex, I don't believe she says anything. Which is
no, she doesn't.
No.
Yeah, which is interesting to me from are straight people okay place.
The straights are not okay. No. Bathrooms are all gendered. Fuck off.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
I'm so angry about these bathrooms.
we can talk more about that in a minute, but
I'm having a hard time visualizing them right now, but I believe you.
I will send you a screenshot because I took a picture because I was so angry.
Oh, is that going to be one of our screenshots?
Yes, I was going to say, who the fuck designed this? So mad.
So our last person to check in with on this floor, I think Jacob's on the next floor.
No, second to last.
Yeah.
No, Jacob's on this floor.
Oh, he is also? Okay. Yeah. Well, this next person is one of my favorites because, there are a lot of reasons. But so it's Yeoman Kelly Chambers, who we all love because you can't not love her.
She's so sweet.
She is.
So amazing.
So my favorite thing about Kelly is, as the kind of person I am, I tend to be by nature a very flirtatious person. And Kelly was the first character in a video game that rewarded me for acting naturally. When
I have to interrupt you for a second.
Sure.
Because I want to speak to your flirty nature and say that I had to tell my husband, do not heckle us at the live show because you and Matt tend to flirt and I cannot have this.
You're not wrong.
It's distracting.
I just had to point it out.
Yes, that's
anyway. Please continue talking about how great Kelly is.
So when but also what's really interesting is, so as I said, I by nature tend to flirt, and when I could in the first game, I did. Although when I started getting myself into trouble or panicking, I would amply just backpedal. But with Kelly,
abort.
Right, exactly. But with Kelly, you're rewarded for being a little flirty. It gives you an option to respond in a way that you don't really get to react with any other characters in the first game, and so far in the second game. To just be a little playful, and it can be taken as anything. And I like that. I like that it's a little ambiguous, that you're both being a little playful. There's no confession of feelings or a hard immediate commitment. It's just, two adults interacting in a playful manner, and I really dig that.
Yeah, that's really great. What I love about Kelly is that she's there to look after your mental health.
Yes.
Which was a huge problem in 1.
Yeah, I don't think anyone in 1 really cared about Shepard's health, or any of the crew members, to be honest. Nobody really checked in with each other that much, except for Shepard checking in with other people.
Yeah.
Shepard making the rounds. What I was thinking on this interaction, I think this is the one where you get to decide, or she says, you can either keep calling her Miss Chambers or Yeoman Chambers, or you can say, I'll call you Kelly or something like that. And the whole rest of the game, you call her Kelly, which is fine. I don't even remember what the rest of the game is like if you don't make that first decision of calling her by her first name.
I don't think I ever took that formal line with her. It just did not feel comfortable.
Yeah, I know for a fact I did, but I hated myself because I'm very much a call me by my first name. I hate it when people call me Mr. Mick. That's the worst.
Yeah.
Yeah, so kind of a big but small choice.
Yeah. That we all seem to have made.
I didn't even make a note of it.
Yeah, I think that also what's really great about Kelly, going back to the mental health talk, is that like she impresses upon you that, you know, she's sort of an executive assistant to you, but also more than that. Like she does tell you when you have messages and when someone needs to talk to you and all of that stuff, but she also goes beyond that in the vein of personal assistant and beyond, where she, you know, cares about your mental health and the crew and checks in with people and wants people to check in with her. And I think it's just really cool to have that person there, because we have a similar person in the third game too, and there wasn't in the first game. And so it was like a nice evolution of the ship dynamic that I really enjoyed.
She adds a very human touch.
Yes.
Exactly.
Moving forward, let's talk about Jacob.
So yeah, you get to go into Jacob's armory, as it were. He hangs out where the guns are.
Where the guns are, or where his guns are.
I'm glad you made that joke.
I knew that was coming.
I was thinking I would, but glad you did.
As a Paragon, though, you do get the option here to kind of like dismiss Jacob in a way where like he doesn't have to be so formal. Like you allow him to speak off the record a little bit and like just kind of comfortably chat with you, which you can tell in his physicality changes. Like you can tell that he relaxes a little, and he does trust you out of the gate based on your legacy, and when you start to come around to meet him there, how he treats you continues to evolve and change in a positive direction.
And you also have that alliance, right? You were both in
Correct,
the alliance.
Yeah.
So maybe there's some trust from that as well.
So here's my feeling about Jacob. He's placed there as someone that a Paragon ship can relate to. Like, yeah, you're working for a sketchy organization. Yeah, Cerberus doesn't have the greatest reputation, but you're working towards a goal that's bigger than that. And Jacob is there to make you feel better about going along with it. I don't like that there's an option. Wait, hang on. What was I trying to say? Oh, that was a different thought. Sorry.
It's okay.
I don't like that you have this option to talk, and then the NPC is like, yeah, I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
Oh.
And, like, there's nothing new to say. I'd rather just not enter this conversation and them say something throwaway like, oh, hey, we'll talk later. So I don't have to waste my time going into the conversation, finding out that they don't want to talk to me, and then leaving the conversation.
Yeah, I feel like
too
the
many
first
steps.
game did that more, where if there was no update in the convo, or maybe it's the third game. Maybe I'm confusing with the
I think it's the third game.
Yeah, whereas you'll go to talk to somebody and they'll be like, oh, we'll chat later, or we'll catch up later. This conversation doesn't really pull me around on my opinion on Jacob that much. Like, I mean, I like him well enough. He's definitely not the most bland human character. But that said, like, on a meta level, I know he'll get more interesting as we do more missions with him later, because I know what's coming in his backstory, which is super well done. But on a character level, as my shepherd, I feel like, all right, this is a guy that I can feel comfortable talking to, but I don't feel a kinsmanship. I don't feel like we're going to be best friends. I just, I'm still hesitant to give him everything. But that said, I have no reason to, as my shepherd, I have no reason to disrespect him or give him a hard time just because I don't want to be friends.
I think for me, I was thinking a bit too meta. Like the first time I interacted with him, I was thinking a bit too meta on him. Like, I've read too many books. I've watched too many movies where the person who's supposed to be like the guy who's your bud and your friend ends up betraying you, when it turns out the person who you end up hating is actually the good person. Too. So I still don't trust him.
Yeah.
That's what I remember thinking the first time.
Yeah.
In Assassin's Creed, I never trusted Kristen Bell, so I know what you're talking about.
That's true.
Who was Kristen Bell?
Kristen Bell's character. I don't remember her name, but Kristen Bell played her. And every time she was on screen... that was Kristen Bell.
Yeah, Lucy.
Yeah, Lucy was Kristen Bell.
Oh, my God.
And, like, I love Kristen Bell, but every time she was on screen, I got this creeping feeling. I was like, no, something bad's going to happen, and it's going to be her fault.
Can we drop some Assassin's Creed spoilers in here? Does that matter?
If it's for the newest game, Odyssey, I'd rather not.
No, it's for what? No, Brotherhood.
Yes.
I mean, yeah, it's... Yeah.
It turns out you're right.
Yeah. And also, I think we've dropped that spoiler in the past.
Probably.
Okay, cool.
But that being said, let's move on. Yes?
Yes. Let's talk about... Let's go to the next floor where we get to see your horrible bathrooms that you hate.
I hate the bathrooms so
And then
much.
we get to a common area where there is a table and a mess hall.
So something that I noticed once you get to this floor is that there's a lot more activity. Normandy 1 had a few people on it, but there wasn't this much like movement. We don't have this much back and forth. You can walk in on conversations that are happening that have nothing to do with you, that you can't even engage with. And it adds like more of that human element. Like there's a life happening on the ship.
Yeah. There's a bigger crew. Well, because also keep in mind, the first Normandy, it was a skeleton crew, and you knew it was a skeleton crew. It was whoever you needed, who was essential that you could get to go with you on this mission. Whereas Cerberus has a lot of money and a lot of personnel, and so there are a ton more people on the ship.
And they want you to succeed, so they have no reason to not give you a full crew.
And so with that activity, we also get a Mess Sergeant Gardner, who... I will admit, I completely forgot existed.
I love him so much.
It had been long enough from when I played it last that I forgot about him. Like, of course, the minute I saw him, I remembered him. But like, what's hilarious to me about Mess Sergeant Gardner is that, like, he's designed to be this older guy from to me, it's like an old guy from Brooklyn. Like, he's got that vibe of kind of being super informal and matter of fact and frank, which I don't mind. I think he's actually quite funny. But, you know, he doesn't serve a huge purpose beyond that.
He's the guy that serves to remind you that, like, when you're up there saving the galaxy, he's the guy who's unclogging the toilets and doing all this stuff you don't think about in the Normandy.
Right.
He's arguably one of the most important crew members. Like, he keeps things going. He makes sure people are fed. He cleans the ship, cleans the bathrooms, makes sure that just, like, everything works. So you don't have to worry about it. But
bless you. God bless you, Sergeant Gardner.
My favorite thing also is that when you enter a conversation with him, he'll start to ask you something and then pull back, which as a real living, breathing human is my worst pet peeve. Like, if you got a question, ask the damn question. Don't do that. Don't say, hey, could I? Oh, never mind. You're too important. Like, I hate that. Just spit it out. And so you get out of him that he's working with very bare ingredients, and if you get him some quality ingredients, he can make a lot better food on the ship. And so if you happen next time you're at the Citadel, if you go to the Citadel, can you get him this food if you accept this mission, which I did. And so in the nearest future, I will get him better ingredients.
Better pizza.
Oh, God, no.
how dare you?
Clearly, you're not
First
from New York.
No, I'm not.
I'm so angry right now.
I'm sorry. I saw an opening and I went for it. Sue me.
MJ, do you have any
Papa John's might. Anyway.
comments to add about Sergeant Gardner?
Yes, actually, I've been percolating since I originally wrote my notes about him. So if you talk to him and explore all conversation options, you find out that he lost his family to Batarian raiders, which is relevant to me in particular.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Because I play a character who lost her entire family to Batarian raiders as well. So it has formed in my brain that every single person I've interacted with on this ship so far was put there to specifically cater to me.
Yeah.
Like, we have Joker, who we love, of course. Like, we saved his life. We have Kelly, who is so, like, beautifully human and kind and caring, and we finally have someone asking us how we feel, which we did not have in 1. So it shows that they care. We have Mess Sergeant Gardner, who is so relatable. He has experiences that we can relate to. And the next person we were going to talk about, Dr. Chakwas, our space mom, who does not care about Cerberus, who is only there because she wants to be there for you and for Joker. And it's just all so very manipulative.
Yeah, it is. And what's worse is that those characters don't even know. Like, as we move on to Dr. Chakwas, who I'm always excited when she spins around in that chair because she's Space Mom.
I love her.
She's the best.
I was so excited to see her.
But what's really interesting is she talks about, like, she doesn't exclusively say she's there for the two of you, but essentially she does say that. Like, she says that, you know, stationary life is not for her. She belongs on ships. But then she also mentions who's going to look after Joker and make sure he takes care of himself. You know, it's a very human interaction. Dr. Chakwas is one of those characters that, for a character that is never in the field with you, she's one of those characters that I'm the most attached to. And like when she talks about her ice brandy wine and that she lost it on the last ship and never got to drink it, like, in subsequent playthroughs, and we'll talk about that, but like I complete that mission so damn fast because yes, I want to reward you, Space Mom.
You deserve something nice.
Yeah.
Mother's Day is coming up.
But she's also like, I mean, she's just one of those characters also that like I respect so much and is portrayed in a way that you can't help but feel inspired by and want to respect her because of how she carries herself and how she talks and, you know, how honest she is with you. She is really one of my favorite in the field secondary characters.
She is also one of the first people to acknowledge that trauma changes people.
Yes.
And that's one of the reasons that she's there for you. And she says 2 things that had me like really emotional and I started to cry. The first thing is, I don't work for Cerberus, I work for you. Mm-hmm. And the second thing was, I have faith that your dealings will be ethical.
Yeah.
And it just got real emotional. It was really important.
Well, she puts a lot of pressure on you, but in the best way. Like, she's essentially saying that she believes in you. And that she still believes in you, even though you've been gone for 2 years. Like, there are other characters that when they, like Tali, what we talked about last episode, when she interacts with you, she believes it's you, but she's still like a little distant. And when you ask her to join you, she says she can't. She's got other responsibilities. Like, but Joker and Dr. Chakwas immediately believe in you, are glad to see you, and want to help you, you know, without a doubt.
Also, I feel like Dr. Chakwas's presence makes my shepherd feel like this wasn't the worst call she could make.
I would agree.
Like, working for Cerberus was not the worst idea she could go with.
Yeah.
Also a bit of strategy by the elusive man to put her
Yes. Yes.
That is definitely true. But yeah, no, I'd agree. I think that I get some sense of comfort. As I said, you know, we consider her Space Mom just like we consider Captain Anderson, who we have not seen yet in this game, Captain Dadderson. Like, there are just parental figures that I gravitate to in this game because of how they interact with you and care for you, you know, which I think is kind of really cool.
All right, next up we have Miranda.
Miranda. So I'm really conflicted here on a meta because I love this actress. I've loved her since Chuck, and like she's been in a ton of other movies and stuff. And this is the role I know her best for because there's so many hours you spend with her. And like because of that meta, I'm just like, can we cut the bullshit already? You know. But my actual shepherd doesn't feel that way. My actual shepherd, well, sort of feels that way. But my actual shepherd is more frustrated. Like, come on, we're people. Can we talk? And you get a little bit out of her this time. Like, she'll tell you about her past. And you can be a little flirty with her here, which is interesting. Like, you know.
Well, you can.
Like, you know, you say, oh, so you're perfect then. And, like, she totally just eats it up. And just like, yeah, well, I mean, I was designed to be. And you can call her cocky. Like, it's really interesting that you're kind of like two cats batting at each other in this scene. You're not really, I mean, because even Renegade, it's mostly just like people feeling each other out. There's no real camaraderie in this room.
You come to realize the best way to talk to Miranda is about Miranda.
Yeah,
She's
you're not
the
wrong.
opposite side. She's the opposite side of the coin from Jacob. She appears very
Yeah.
confident. She has all the information. She knows exactly what she's doing, and she believes 1,000% that she is in the right.
Yep.
I remember the first time I walked into this room thinking, "Oh, this must be my chambers. This is where I live, right?" And then imagine my disappointment. Oh, this is where you live. Okay, fine.
She's the only one like with her own room aside from you.
Exactly. I think that makes her. I don't know about how it is on this ship, but would that make her XO?
I guess so.
I guess so. I mean, everyone else
She's
is in the
supposedly your second.
yeah. Everyone else is
Yeah.
in the residential bunks, whereas she
Yeah.
has her own room and you have your own room, and that's it.
Unless you're Jacob, which you're leaning against that table.
That's true. Yeah.
Or doing sit-ups.
So with Miranda, after you're done, being fierce and aggressive with her, you can go down to the engineering deck, which is my favorite place to wander in the last game because there were a ton of colorful characters down there, and there's no shortage of colorful characters employed by Cerberus, which are Ken and Gabby, who
I love them so much.
They're great.
again, two characters that I forgot about just because they're not priority characters as far as the cast list goes. But the minute I walked into the room and saw them, I was like, oh, yay, them. Because literally, I'm the Ken of so many of my friend groups. Like, I'm not going to bore you with the details, but here are all the details. And then my friends are all the Gabby. They're like, you're boring him with the
Gabby
details.
grounds you.
They're so
I love how
fucking cute.
Oh, you go.
No, I was just saying that they're so fucking cute.
They are.
I love that the first thing that they say to you is like, "Oh, hey, wasn't expecting you to come down here," and then go right into conversation. It's just like, "Yeah, I explore my whole ship. They blocked off rooms, so I can't go in there. So of course I'm coming down
The
here."
door's open. I'm going in it.
Yeah, this is my damn ship.
They're so
But
adorable.
yeah, they are just the best to talk to, and you get a lot out of them too,
And
like a bit about their backstory as
yeah,
well.
and they give you a mission as well. They're looking for things to just improve the
yeah.
ship.
Yeah.
And there are
The
another
couplings.
group that go, oh, can you do this? Like Ken is all gung ho about it, no filter. Hey, we could really use this thing. And Cabby's like, dude, what are you doing? This is the commander. What are you doing? Don't tell him. But then you pull it out of them, and they just want couplings that will make the engine run smoother and cut down on some of their repetitive tasks, which my shepherd at least would be happy to do because I'm about efficiency and people pleasing.
Agree. Like, this will make your life easier? Okay. Done.
Lucky for you, I'm Commander Shepard, and I will absolutely go out of my way to buy these.
I will do this.
Put it on the grocery list next to food and iced brandy.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Like, you pretty much do have a grocery list at this point, which I think is
You do.
hilarious.
It's important. But yeah, they add to what I was saying earlier about the elusive man and how he very carefully chose people to be on this ship because they know nothing about Cerberus. They don't care about Cerberus. They spoke out against all the decisions made by the Alliance and the Council to sweep everything you did under the rug. And that's
so
why they're on the Normandy.
Yeah, they just feel like because of how some of the Alliance humans were handling things, they wanted to be where people were making a difference. That was it.
Yeah. So
Also,
they're
going
more
back
people.
going back to the shopping list thing,
Yeah.
it is very indicative of video games in general to give the hero a shopping list. I started playing this game called Dragon's Dogma on my Switch. It's a Capcom game that come out years ago that was re-released recently. And you're the Arisen, like this legendary hero whose heart was taken from their body by a dragon. You're destined to defeat this dragon, blah, blah, blah. After you start the game and do a few side quests, you go up to this one woman who needs flowers, and literally in the same conversation goes, you're this legendary hero, all should bow before you, but hey, can you go get me these things? And I'm like, dude.
You're wearing like this huge armor and like it's like in Skyrim.
Odyssey is like
I am
that too.
a archmage of the wizard. Oh my god, the Mages Guild, and like a top fighter, and I've saved the world. And Oh, you want me to go get cheese? All right.
I'm possibly a
Fine.
demigod, and you want me to give you 50 drachmi? Like, fuck off. Leave me alone.
I feel like we could do a
Anyway.
side podcast of just heroes and their shopping lists.
That'd be good.
That'd be good.
Well, invite me on that one. I'd love to be on.
Okay, deal.
All right. Did you check out your captain's quarters?
I did.
Yeah, after my disappointment of seeing Miranda and what I thought was mine, I wanted to find mine.
Yeah, the captain's quarters are cool, you know, knowing that you have places to put stuff that you're not quite sure what. You have a giant empty fish tank. But I always go make a beeline for the radio and just press it till a song from the soundtrack comes on that I like. Just because I'm a music nerd, and it's I know you can do it, so I go do it.
I showed up, and remember how we were confused why Liara was there in the opening scene for me?
Yeah.
There's a picture of Liara on my desk. Oh, no.
Oh, wow.
Oh no.
Oh,
And
no.
okay, I've listened to your podcast. I promise. You didn't romance
No.
her, right?
So
That's weird. Game. Thanks.
So what happened was I was romancing like both her and Caden because I was like, I like you both a lot and I don't know who to choose. And then it came time to choose between Caden and Ashley, and I chose Ashley. So I was like very sad. So Liara and my Shep kissed, but then when Liara was like, let's bone down, my character was like,
Not the time.
my friend just died.
Yeah.
Because of me. I cannot do this with you right now. And, like,
True.
I thought that would have ended the relationship, but it didn't, apparently.
But that's actually really, I think, really great, because we were worried that it was very one-dimensional, and it did appear one-dimensional in that moment. But it does seem like maybe there is still a possible relationship between you two, even though you didn't bone down, as it were. Which is interesting. Whereas there was no picture on my desk because, you know, I can't
You
really
didn't
convince
romance anyone.
I didn't romance anyone. Well, I tried to, but they don't, you know, the one I was interested in what didn't reciprocate in the first game. We'll leave it at that.
That's because he was
Now-
deeply closeted.
Yeah.
The only thing I can think about in this moment is that this is obviously the first time you've been in this cabin, right?
Yeah.
So who put that picture there?
Yeah, right?
So is the elusive man just being like aesthetically like, oh, he'll like this or she'll like this?
Yeah, like, if the elusive man did that, that's even extra manipulative and even more creepy.
Exactly.
Like, stay out of my room.
Realistically, I want to believe it was Kelly Chambers, though, considering she cares
There
about
Oh,
we
yeah,
go.
that makes
That's
sense.
some good
the
headcanon.
mental health of all the everyone, and that she was excited to meet you. She knew who you were. She probably researched you. My guess is that she wanted you to feel comfortable in your room, knew how you felt about Liara before everything that happened, and wants to make you feel comfortable. That's my headcanon.
That is way better than the elusive
Yeah,
man.
that's better. You know, if Kelly really knew me, she would have put a picture of Garrus in my room.
Yeah, well.
Just saying.
So yeah, and so after I went to my chambers, then it was mission time as far as I was concerned. I spoke to everybody. It was time to head to Omega and get some shit done.
This was a very long check-in, but that's because it's our first check-in of the entire game.
First one.
So
and I think
it
you can
tends to
check in
take
with
a lot
all
of
these
time.
characters after every mission, but some of them
They don't always
I think
have
your
something
check-ins
new
are going to
say.
get longer.
Yeah.
They don't always have something new to say. That's the
This
thing.
this game has the most squad mates.
Yeah,
I believe
it really does.
It does, yeah. It has the most squad mates, and also, I do believe though, certain conversations don't really evolve. From what I recall of previous playthroughs, Mess Sergeant Gardner doesn't really, it doesn't really evolve beyond the shopping list. But others do, like Ken and Gabby, I think do a little, and I know Dr. Chakwas does because it's Dr. Chakwas.
Kelly and
Yeah.
Joker.
But I mean, that's what I did in the first game, and I'll do it in this game. After every mission, I go talk to everybody just to see if anyone has anything to say, and they don't always, but I do it anyway.
Yep.
Yeah.
Before we start on Omega, let's talk about a couple of things, like the new Galaxy map.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Okay,
It's
so
so good.
as the listeners know, I'm playing on PC, so it's all mouse and keyboard because apparently BioWare hates controllers on PC.
Or they just hate you.
Either or.
Good
Hey,
point.
if they knew about us, I'd be flattered, hate or not. So, but yeah, it's so much easier to navigate this galaxy map. Everything's clearer, clearly labeled. Clicking through stuff is really easy. For me, it's all mouse control. You hold the mouse down to move, and then you click on places to bring them up and zoom in. I love the new galaxy map.
You can tell where you've been and where you haven't been yet. Oh my God,
God for that.
Great.
It gives you a percentage. Like you've explored 66% of this quadrant or whatever, this galaxy or whatever. And so there's some stuff there. Great.
And so begins my quest to deplete all planets of useful resources.
Is this the second thing you wanted to talk about? The planet scanning.
I love it. It makes me very happy.
So some backstory that I think we've shared previously, but we might as well reshare now. MJ got into this game after I got the second game. And the way she got into it was I hated scanning the planets. I hated it. It was just annoying. But MJ didn't mind. She's like, oh, cool, an interface. I can play with this. All right. And so did all my planet scanning. And after a while was like, I should actually see what the hell this is all about. Like, this part's fun. What about the rest? But she was my dedicated planet scanner, which probably set her on this path to obsessively scanning planets.
I'm very meticulous, okay?
It reminds me when so in college when we got Mass Effect 2, it obviously wasn't me, it was my roommate who had the Xbox. He bought it. And his rule was he had to play through it first, I believe, before I could get into it because he knew I would plow through it.
Yeah.
And I remember, I think every Monday we would watch Lost, and he would have it either up on a tiny screen in the corner or on the other TV we had in the room. He would be planet scanning on mute and just getting resources while we were watching TV.
Oh, that's a delight.
Yeah. Did anyone do any exploration on this playthrough before going to Omega? I didn't. I wanted to go straight to Omega, mostly because I was afraid I was going to find something I wasn't ready to do yet.
Yes, there is a tradition I always do as soon as planet scanning is available, and I don't know if you want to talk about it now.
I think I know what you do.
It has to do with you go to the Sol system.
You're the worst.
And you go to Uranus.
You're just the worst.
You're the
It's
worst.
the best dialogue. Edie has her set things that she says when you're scanning planets. It's just like probe away, scanning for resources or whatever. And then when you put a probe on Uranus, it's just like, really, Shepard? And then you do it again. It's like probing Uranus. It's just the best. I'll have to
do that before the next mission.
Absolutely.
We're back on the ship, but we don't have to. But we still have to do whatever. I'll deal with it. Don't mind me, listener.
Okay. I also want to say that I absolutely hate paying for fuel and probes.
Yeah.
Why?
I get the point. They want you to spend your money on stuff so you don't have too much money. I get it as an economy balance, but the reality is things are either so expensive as far as weapon mods and everything that you can't afford it whether you spend the money regularly or not. And also, the cost is so minimal to buy probes and fuel that it almost doesn't matter. It's just a MacGuffin almost.
Yeah, I think it's pointless. Anyway. Omega.
So we go to Omega. So this opening scene on Omega where you're greeted by this, clearly some kind of addict Solarian.
The local tough.
And then he gets brushed away by the actual greeter who works for Aria, a Batarian, and gives you the rigmarole. Why are you here? You have to go see Aria. And I like how you try, I at least tried to be a little snarky and was like, yeah, I'll get there. And he's like, go see Aria. He's not having any of your crap.
No, this is very important. This is what I was programmed to tell you.
And then, after this, as you go to walk to the main area of Omega, you see somebody getting beat up in a corner. And it's at that point I paused the game and messaged my co-host and said, are we supposed to get Zaid for this? Because I don't know that we can skip getting Zaid, and we did talk about that.
You can't.
But of course, you have to get Zaid here if you have
Yeah.
the DLC, which we did.
Does it cut to you have to get him?
Yeah,
or-
so you're
can't
you're
remember if you
walking
select him.
because he's right by the hallway that takes you into the main part of Omega, so you
Right.
can't get past him without it triggering the cutscene.
Yeah.
Okay.
It triggers automatically. And and you can't really say, I don't need you. So
No.
you have to get him no matter what. As long as you have the DLC. Bop, bop, bop.
And so for those who don't know or who may not have the DLC, since it's not a requirement to play along with us, Zaid is a bounty hunter, tough guy, who, as far as character arcs go, is pretty vanilla, but I love his voice actor so much because he's just...
I don't think his character arc is vanilla.
well, or more accurately, his character arc isn't. He seems like a pretty straightforward cliche character in the beginning, in this
Okay, that's fair.
opening moment. But I love his voice actor so much because he's just got so much personality in the way he talks. He's just, a rough and tough guy who's got one of those like hero voices, like really deep delivery, and is just kind of a jackass. And I love the way he says jackass. He turns the CK to a G and goes jackass, and it's the best.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of waxing goddamn nostalgic is like one of the things he says that I'm just like, wow, I love you.
I
You're
think
amazing.
he's a Firefly fan, by the way.
Yeah.
Well, because he wants to know.
He's a what? I'm sorry, you cut out.
I think he's a Firefly fan, by the way.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Because he wants to know if we're going to go be big goddamn heroes.
Oh yes, that's right. Huh.
that had to have been for
I think
sure.
so.
That was a reference.
Um,
I get that reference. Yeah, so after you talk to Zaid, you have a couple of things that you can do. You can go straight to Arya.
Can I actually back up to something about Zaid?
Of course.
I'm sorry.
sure.
Do you want to know something really funny about my playthroughs with? I had him from the get-go as soon as I had the game. And the name of the DLC is The Price of Revenge, I believe. And I think I went through about a couple or 3 playthroughs thinking I'm dyslexic, and I thought it was The Prince of Revenge. and I was just like, yeah, okay, sure. I don't really understand it, but maybe it's something I don't understand. But now I think after that point, I was just like, oh, The Price of Revenge. Okay, that makes a little more sense.
my God.
Because, I wasn't really picking up any royalty from him.
Yeah. No, definitely not a royal guy. That is for sure.
I just had to say that.
That's good. That's
Prince of Revenge is the name of my next band.
Prince of Revenge.
Yeah.
For rock band.
And of course, at this point, so before you go into the contaminated area, when we get to that, you get to pick your party again. I do end up bringing Zaid with him because he's just chock full of personality.
Sure.
But yeah, so now at this point you were setting up, MJ. We can either go straight to the club or explore a little. I looked around that outer area, but then I went straight into the club. What about you guys?
I went into the
the
market.
sounds were bumping. I wanted to go in there.
Yeah, I went into the markets. I did some shopping.
Oh, I did do some shopping,
Yeah.
but I think I did it.
Oh,
I think I
yeah.
did it after talking to Arya before starting the mission.
Yeah, I went straight to the marketplace because I was like, I don't want to do this thing that I was told to do because
I've got this grocery list, and I got to start checking some things off.
And I did check some things
Yeah.
off. I spoke with a Quarian who was stranded on his pilgrimage, and I gave him some money because I had the ability to help him, so I did.
I did the same
Nice.
thing. We were very predictable, the two of us.
I think on this time, I went through the quest to like free him. I think I decided to not do them. I was going through it trying to do things that I hadn't done in the past, and I think in the past I had for sure paid to get him off world. So I think the quest involved going to this Elcor,
Yeah.
and talking to him and convincing him to free the Quarian from under his like contract or whatever.
I love talking to Elcor. They're so fun
They're
to talk
so
to.
great.
They're the best.
Especially this very like sounds the same as different Elcor, but this Elcor is just a shady dude, and like He sounds like every other Elcor, but like he's just running side hustles and whatnot. I don't trust him.
It's very interesting to hear an evil Elcor because they don't really sound any more evil or not than other Elcor.
Harriet, that's his name.
Yeah.
I could not think of it. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. The reason why I gave Ken the money is because it hurts day to day, like seeing people who are suffering and not being able to help them. Like walking through Manhattan is just a gauntlet of suffering because you see people left and right who are homeless, who are hungry, who just want some money so they can get something that they need. And like, I don't have any money, and if I did, I don't have enough money to help you. And I just it makes me sad. And in this moment, in this fictional moment, I could give this young man money and I could help him, and that made me feel really good.
For once you actually have cash with you.
Yes.
Exactly.
And it made me feel good. And it was just like, I want to help everybody, but I can't, so I will help this fictional boy.
Since we're talking,
I like to imagine that you hand this guy the money and you like whisper in his ears, because the Reapers are coming. You gotta be prepared.
Yeah, you are at this point like a crazy man who's rumored to be dead. Like, you're not, but by all accounts you are. While we're talking about the...
Speaking of crazy people...
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes, there's the guy who thinks all humans are evil.
Oh, yeah.
Yes! The Mad Prophet.
The Mad Prophet.
Who's also in the market.
He's interesting. Yeah, you can't really talk to him, but you can
listen to him.
Yeah, well...
I don't know if you ever listened to this guy, but some good ideas, you know?
Well, the funny thing about him is if you walk past with an all-human party, which you don't have a choice at this point, he, like, reacts to each human that's walked by. He's, you human, and you, awful, end the world. Yeah, like, it's actually
what does he call you? You are a blight? Is that what he
says? Yeah. But that's what happens is, like, you're walking, and he goes, you're a blight, and then he sees the other two, and he's like, and you are, and so are you. Like, it's just very...
He's like the crazy Oprah.
Right, exactly.
You are a blight.
We're all blights.
We're all blights.
While we're talking about the markets, I did the markets after Afterlife, but after Afterlife? All right, we'll go with that. Mm-hmm. There are some things that I do as per tradition. I didn't buy all of the scale model ships or anything yet because I wanted to save some of my money. But... what I did buy, because I buy every time, and I'm wondering if both of you buy it, there is, for 10 credits, a titillating alien magazine that I always buy.
Yep. What's 10 credits,
right.
You know?
What I wonder is, I don't recall, I mean, it must come up at some point. Like, why else would you be able to buy it? But
it's now a part of your codex.
Oh, is it really? That's great.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, anything that you can buy is like some codex entry now. Like novel-wise or magazine-wise.
That's really funny.
I bought a couple of model ships. I bought Fornax. I bought the couplings.
Oh, yes, I got the couplings.
I bought a couple of upgrades.
Couplings is the only thing off the grocery list you can get, right?
You could also get the Ceres Ice Brandy in Afterlife.
Oh, right.
But yeah, something interesting came up on the radio while I was walking through the marketplace. Minoir got permission to build a statue in my shepherd's honor, and I had this fleeting thought of, can I go to Minoir? Can I go there?
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I don't know if you can. I don't think you can, but maybe. I don't remember, to be
honest.
honest.
I had to find out, because...
like a whole mission of just, like, walking up on the stage during the ceremony. Like, everyone stops clapping. Oh. Ooh.
Whoops.
Also, while walking around the marketplace, we meet a new alien, the Vorcha.
Yes. Not unkind creatures, to say the least. They are fairly feral, speak in his tones, seem to not like anybody, really.
They're like...
frankly, kind of just, like, yucky looking.
Is that your medical opinion?
Like...
yeah, that's just one medical opinion to another. Yeah, just a bit yucky.
I feel like they were designed to replace the Batarians as a source of, like, all of these guys are evil, don't feel bad shooting them, which is sad and frustrating because, like, no race is a monolith.
Yeah.
So having. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say, well, yeah, and the fact that the Geth were essentially a monolith in the last game, it looks like, and then the Batarians, the little interactions that you had with them, it's really sad that now we have another race they created to fill that void, so you could get deeper with those other races. Like now they're not all bad, but now this race is.
Yeah.
Now there's this, yeah.
Also, I don't know if you guys knew this, but you could bypass Arya entirely.
I knew that was possible. I don't think I've ever done it.
I thought about it because on the one hand, I really like getting information and being prepared, but on the other hand, I don't like being told what to do.
Yeah.
That you can't help but have that happen with Arya.
My shepherd is less obstinate than yours, I'm finding, MJ. But part of me also, there's the meta of it. Like, it's like I love Arya as a character, and we'll get into that, I guess.
She's so cool.
So first of all, Carrie-Anne Moss, one of the greatest actresses, and does incredible voice work here. Another one of my favorite lines comes. So I guess let's move on to Afterlife. So we all did go to Afterlife to interact with Arya. You have to get scanned before meeting her because first you have a Mexican standoff, which is always fun, where everybody points their guns at each other.
Oh yeah. Was this a renegade option or a paragon, or was it both?
It just happened,
as I recall.
Yeah.
Like everybody draws, and then Arya waves her hands, and her guards lower their weapons, and then you do, and then they scan you while you snark at her.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about there's this weird interaction in the hallway into Afterlife where some Batarian walks up and wants to start a fight.
Yeah, that happened.
Oh,
you are absolutely correct.
It didn't actually happen to me. Maybe I missed it.
You have to talk to the Batarians. You could just walk by. I did the Paragon option of just do you really want to do this? I don't think you want to do this.
I think I did Renegade because in the moment I was like, I don't want to deal with you.
Yeah, so that happened. You can pick up a bottle of Sarah's Ice Brandy. You can order a drink from the bar. The drink animation is so bad.
So bad.
I have never
it's the same one every time.
I have never once ordered a drink, knocked it back, shook my head vigorously, and then pushed myself away from the bar.
Yeah.
That is
I'm sure I've done that, but I don't think I do it every time. One shot, I'm just like, oh, regret that.
So something interesting here. I grabbed the ice brandy because, of course, but I went up to the bar, and then I decided not to drink because I, in real life, am sober and don't drink.
Yeah.
So, but the funny part about that, not the fact that I don't drink, but the fact that when you go to the bar, you still lean against it. And so if you don't drink, you just then aggressively push yourself off the bar for no reason.
I'm so glad you brought that up. It's just no words are exchanged. Just no. Just backs away. And that bartender's just dude, I'm just doing my job, probably.
What's his
don't
problem?
Need to be rude.
Or her problem. Yeah. It's the strangest thing. That is in league with the first game, and it happens in the second game too, but the turning before walking away animation, this, in every bar that you can go to in this game, you, even if you don't drink, you push off the bar aggressively I'm done here, man.
Someone makes it a big sweeping decision. No.
I don't wanna.
Oh man, I forgot all about that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I really want to find a fic where it's just all stories told from a bartender's perspective in Afterlife, and just all the times he deals with humans who are terrible, or just all the shit that he sees. Maybe I'll write that fic.
But back to what we were talking about before. So then after all of that, you can go have your standoff with Arya and then chat with her. But this, of course, is one of my other favorite lines. When the whole "I am Omega, don't fuck with Arya," all of those big sweeping lines that she has. Every time I hear any of my friends in a conversation say something that would lead perfectly into that, I almost want to always yell it. It's just whenever any of my friends goes, "Oh yeah, but there's just one rule," I just want to yell out of no context, "Don't fuck with Arya."
Don't fuck with Arya.
Arya is such a good name. I know of at least 2 other fandoms that have that name, so you could just yell it.
It's true.
You should just yell it.
But yeah,
give in to temptation.
I as far as interacting with Asari through the first game and then this game, Arya is easily the most charismatic and interesting Asari I've met at this point. And her voice delivery of the lines, it's just like the range is incredible because either when she's calm or when she's not, there's the same level of terror and intimidation and charisma, no matter what volume she's speaking at, no matter what she's talking about. It's great. When
she says "Don't fuck with Arya," I'd been thinking it up until this point, like the first time I played it. She says that, and I'm like, "Whoa, this is a whole different game, huh?" Because that's the first time they drop an F-bomb in Mass Effect. I'm pretty sure.
So
maybe
a quick Andromeda spoiler, not spoiler, is that there's a lot more cursing in Andromeda.
Oh, for sure.
I find it really interesting.
Yeah, I'll keep that in mind. I think that. I'm ambivalent about cursing, but I like when cursing is used for emphasis, as I was saying earlier. Emphasis.
Emphasis.
The fact that Arya talks to you that way, and also it's refreshing as Shepard, this larger than life character who in the first game everyone dropped to whatever you needed except for the Council because fuck them. But everyone else like bent over backwards for you for the most part based on your legacy and the things that you've done. Arya is really the first character that like doesn't give a shit who you are if you're actually Shepard. As far as she's concerned, you could be some rando wearing a Shepard face, like, and just doesn't trust you and doesn't give a shit and has no reason to give in to you and is giving you tiny bits of information.
Yeah, for sure. Very different Asari.
Yes, it's the first time we ever have this dynamic.
And I think it's refreshing, at least to me.
Yeah.
I agree, yeah.
It is. It means that the writing has evolved and has elevated.
Although it's hard for me to take my own Shepard seriously because, like, I geared him out based on DLC gear and other starter gear that I have to look like, I don't care what he looks like. He could look like a buffoon. If it gets me the best stats for the kind of way I want to play the game, then that's what I've got. So I've got one of those like laser visors on and everything. Like I look like a clown. So I don't expect her to take me seriously either. But I'm still like, whenever the funny thing about the meta of the different ways you customize your outfit, like we talked about in the last episode, is that you could look like a complete buffoon and still have the most deadpan, serious, like, discussion, and everyone's taking you so seriously, and yet it doesn't matter.
I feel like, just speaking about visors, I feel like most of the, like, whenever I would play it early on, I would not have any sort of helmet on. Now I don't care, but like it took away in cutscenes when I'm just like wearing this big old helmet,
just bobbing around,
especially when you can't see his mouth, and I'm just like, I'm sorry, what?
I didn't have anything to add other than the fact that
I thought I heard something.
I was going to say
like
something
when the helmet is covering the mouth, it just takes away, I think, from the cutscenes.
Yeah, I feel like if I have spent a lot of time personalizing and creating my character, do not take this away from me. Let me just see what they look like, please.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why I don't wear the full armors, like the Blood Dragon armor or whatever the other full set, the Cerberus armor. Like they look cool, but I want to be able to customize the experience. And so like whenever helmets I'm wearing, it's usually one of the visors or something, so I can still see my mouth and like some of my face. But I don't wear anything that covers my entire head because I want to be able to see my Shepard too. I painstakingly tried to make him look like me as best as I can in Mass Effect 2 because the character creation is mediocre, and by damn it, I want to see my face.
All right. So, any other points to add about Afterlife or Arya?
No, I don't think so.
I think I'm good.
Right. Let's get into the actual mission. As we approach the ward where Mordin has his clinic, we find a Turian in heated debate with a human who really wants to get inside because all of her things are there, and if she doesn't get inside, someone's going to loot them. He decides not to let her in, but to let you in because you have a rocket launcher. Or an arc projector in my case.
Yeah, I had the arc
True.
projector as well.
And Shepard's just like, excuse me, it's not a rocket launcher.
It actually shoots miniaturized lightning bolts that are condensed for this amount of space and time. Sorry.
Which means you should be much more frightened of me.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay, so I don't have a lot of notes for during the mission. One thing that I do want to ask you guys, is hacking ethically okay?
Huh, interesting question.
Okay. I believe this one, I think about this a lot. In this one, so when you're going through the mission, you're encountering a few people, including, can I just talk about people we come across?
Yeah, absolutely.
There are some looters that you come across, and you're like, my character's just like, no looting. Don't do that. That's bad. You shouldn't do that. After I just hacked an ATM.
Right, yeah.
Exactly. This is where I'm coming
Like,
from.
what the hell?
I'm just like, oh, can I sit on this high horse?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Am I a hypocrite?
Yeah, it's
I mean,
a lot of it is the meta of the game. Like, and there are video games that challenge this, and I've talked about this on my other podcast, Fun and Games, when dealing with game mechanics that kind of go against what you're normally instinctive to do, and the hacking is part of that. Like most of the hacking in this game is just to get access to credits. So like, it's this idea of looting bodies. It's the same thing. Like in any other RPG, you loot a body after you've killed whatever bad guy, but in this, like if you killed looters or rebelling infected, like I would feel bad. Thankfully, you don't fight anyone who's infected, really. You fight... They're all aggressors. None of them are just like people who are dying and crazy, which is good. But
They're
still,
the Blue Suns who are full of shit.
Right. But, like, when you go into the first house with the couple who you convinced to go to Morden to go to the clinic, that you're going to clear a path for them, you can turn around and empty their safe.
Yep. I don't think I did.
Either in that room or the room right outside it, but like you can, or like there's an area where you get to a Batarian who was locked in a room who wasn't infected. He starved to death because they thought he was infected, but there's either a case or a box or something in there that you can loot, and it's like, I mean, I guess he doesn't need it anymore, but there's a little bit of it like. I don't always think about it in the moment, but now that we're talking about it, I'm like, oh yeah, I looted a bunch of stuff that I probably shouldn't have taken.
Yeah. I found a room of dead Turians.
Oh, yes.
And I was just like, why is this room here?
Yeah. Other than to make you feel
just to
awful,
make me feel bad?
pretty much.
This mission just serves to like show you how animalistic people can be.
Yeah.
Like when there's a plague. I think right away they even say, one of your squad mates will comment about how, burning bodies, classic plague tactics.
I remember
one of the
that.
first choices you get to make
And it is.
in this section is before even really fighting anyone, you come across a Batarian who's on the ground
Yes.
and slowly dying and coughing. And this is one of the first non-tutorial QuickTime events where you can either help him or not, if you don't help him, he will die. But you get a Paragon action, a quick time to give him some of your metagel to help him at least survive until he can get to the clinic. Which
that interaction is like the biggest thing I remember about this mission. Because I think I mentioned it earlier. There's one part where if you go through as a renegade in this mission, like it really stuck with me, and that is this. Like if you let that quick time go away, you just watch him die. And it's so worthless you feel like a horrible, horrible person.
Yeah.
Just to watch that Batarian die. And it's of no consequence to you. You don't even lose metagel.
Nope.
To use that quick time. It's not like you're saving metagel to yourself. It just, there will always be metagel. You don't lose ones. I felt so heartless on my Renegade playthrough. But I did it. And now I can say I did. I guess.
But yeah, so I definitely, it sounds like we all in this playthrough did the Paragon action, and like he's still combative and doesn't really like you. He does eventually, like once you rescue, he doesn't like you until you give him the metagel, and then he still doesn't terribly like you, but will listen to you and talk to you, and you convince him to go to the clinic. And
well, look at it from his perspective. All he's seen so far of humans is looting and grave robbing and everyone is dying around him except for humans. And it feels like such a cruel punishment. And like, I don't blame him.
Oh no, me neither. It's just from the meta side of it, trying to progress and get information. When you do the quick action, you do get to do that. But what I never noticed, or if I have in the past, it's been long enough, on the tail end of the mission, if you don't exit right away, he's in the clinic and you can talk to him.
Yeah.
And he thanks you for saving him and is way more pleasant and is like, you know, he's, it's genuinely astonished that you took the time to take care of him and he's thankful for it, which was really cool and actually made me a little emotional.
And like, I don't know how close we want to get to like talking to Morden, but like there's an interaction with Morden where you could be like, hey, I ran into a Batarian back there. He needed help.
And so if you do that interaction, then that triggers that. If you don't tell Morden about it, I don't think he makes it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. Anyway, Morden.
So first thoughts about... So first of all, and I've talked a lot about the meta this episode because this is the most meatiest mission we've done so far in this game. I always loved Morden. He's one of my favorite characters. But trying to play this with fresh eyes, that first interaction is rough. Like, he doesn't care about you. He's focused. He's rambling. And, like, it was, like, I found myself going, come on, dude. Give me a second. Like, I've never really been that short with him in playthroughs because I remember really adoring his character. But in this first mission, I felt frustrated, which is the point.
I have in my notes, dang, Morden. And I think it might be because he killed a lot of people.
Yeah.
He did.
He did.
I think that might be
and freely
why
talks about it, too.
Yeah.
When you asked me to be a guest on your show here, and you gave me the list of missions, I knew I wanted to do one of the Morden ones. Because as I'm playing through, I really love Morden.
Morden's a great character.
I maybe I disagree a little bit. I really love, and maybe it's just this, maybe a bit of metagaming on my side, but I let him, for the first time, I think, just run through how if he's presented with a problem, he'll run through it in his mind, usually talking out loud, and he'll like the snap, how quick he goes through a hypothesis and disproves it, and then finally arrives at a conclusion that's the most logical and usually, well, always the right solution. I'm just like, damn, dude, this is so crazy.
I really like the way this scene is designed because it cuts a lot and it shows how quick his mind is working because that's how fast the scenes are moving. I did cut him off, but not in a mean way.
Same.
I was very like, it's okay. Please take a breath.
Well, yeah. And what
I also was kind of like playing it and like, I don't want to tell him I'm with Cerberus. Not yet. But it didn't matter.
Yeah, he figured it out. Yeah, I did the same thing. I tried to play quiet. And let me rephrase. Like, I didn't dislike him in that moment. I felt the frustration of trying to deal with someone whose brain is spinning out.
Yeah.
And he's brilliant for doing it. My favorite, I shared a screenshot on our Discord, and it'll be I'm sure, up on our Instagram at some point. But one of my favorite snarky lines from Shepard in early game happens in this, is when you're talking to him and he figures out you're from Cerberus, and then you're trying to negotiate with him coming on the ship. He, of course, mentions that he needs you to do him a favor first. And my favorite line in the chat, I did the middle, he can choose the Paragon, Renegade, or the middle option. The middle option here is my favorite, which is Shepard goes, just once, I'd like to ask someone for help, and hear them say, sure, let's go right now. No strings attached. And mood.
I did the same thing.
Mood. That is a big mood for this game because literally that's Shepard's life is like, hey, help me. Sure, I will, but wait, we have to do the thing. And it's like,
I don't think you heard me. The galaxy's in danger. Like, yeah. I mean, granted, what Morden asks of you is pretty important.
Yes, it is important.
And also kind of ties towards your, like, big overall mission a little bit.
Yeah.
But,
yes.
But still.
I'm sure there's stuff later that you're just like, really?
There's a lot of moments where it's like, okay, we have to go on a suicide mission. Okay, but can we first reconnect with my dad?
That's, oh boy, if there's a theme for this whole game, it's like parental or daddy issues.
Yes.
Like a lot of parents tie back in.
I can't wait for Ursula to come on this show so we can talk about it.
I'm sorry, what?
Ursula from Queer Dungeoneers. She has a lot of opinions
okay.
about how the daddy issues play into
Yeah.
everybody's drama.
It's
It is
everywhere.
But yeah, so I snark at him. He kind of shrugs it off and goes, all right, whatever. Look, this is what we have to do. And it turns out, like we talked about before, we have to go spread the cure. But of course, while we're chatting and he's rambling on, the life support system turns off. Because of course it does.
Yep.
Like, literally, I say the line that I said. He tells us what we need to do. Life support system turns off. I feel my shepherd going,
Nothing can be easy.
Yeah. And so, of course, our mission is to go distribute the cure and turn the life support system back on, which after shooting many Vorcha and finding out that the Vorcha are working for the collectors, you get to do that.
Oh, but before you do that, Morden pulls one last Columbo and says one more thing. Can you find my assistant
he wandered off
while you're out there? Like, okay, yeah, sure. Why not, Morden?
Just add one more thing to the list. Daniel. Poor Daniel.
I'll put it on the grocery list. Daniel, the assistant? All right.
I did find Daniel.
So did I.
And I did let the Batarians go who were holding him hostage.
Yeah. I let them go as well. I did the Paragon option. I did not shoot them. And Daniel later comments on that, like being grateful that you didn't do that while he's...
And Morden is like...
He's mad.
He has a different opinion.
He's legit mad that you didn't. He's like, I would have killed them. Like, they were terrible.
Well, I don't think he's mad.
Yeah, I don't think he's mad. He was just kind of like, he's very much like in the moment process. Well, what's done is done. I would have killed them.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, he doesn't really actually get mad, but he was definitely like, I don't understand that. I would have just killed them. And he's so nonchalant about it that it upsets Daniel a lot.
Well, Daniel's sensitive.
He is. Well, it also shows the dichotomy of Morden that really makes him an interesting character. It's the line that Arya says, if you ask for more information, she says that, I like that doctor. He's just as likely to shoot you as he is to heal you, which really does describe him very eloquently.
Yep. More than one way to save lives.
Yeah, definitely. So
I think that's what he says, yeah.
Yes, that is definitely what he says. So aside from the Blue Suns being full of shit,
Yes.
we have the Vorcha who are spreading the virus, and they're doing it under the order of the collectors.
Right? That tells you that they were working for the collectors.
Yes, that's why I was
saying. Classic spelling out the plan right there.
Yep. Villain monologue on point.
Yeah.
If we do this, then the collectors give us power.
What does that even mean?
Between a lot of hisses and yeah.
Yes. Yeah, this is our first like major run-in with the Vorcha. I felt that this fight was like just the right sense of urgency. It wasn't too difficult, but it was like difficult enough to give me a challenge. So I didn't feel like I breezed through it, but I also didn't feel like it was going on forever, and I didn't feel anxious. I felt confident that I could do it, but also not that it was too easy.
Yeah, it was pretty much the same for me. I'm playing a Vanguard, in case our listeners don't remember, and like I love the biotic charge. It's just such a cool boss move because you're just in people's space, they go flying, combined with the shotgun. But the problem with this mission that I forgot about is there's a lot of bad guys who are either around a corner or on a second level. And so I died a few times because I would charge in, kill the two guys next to the guy I charged, and then around the corner there were three other guys and I fell over.
Also, there were flamethrowers and missile launchers.
Right. But once I started to get into the groove, I would like my favorite move is there were three Vorcha and one guy was like yelling at me, and before he could finish his sentence, I charged him. He flew backwards, and then I strafed and shot the other two guys next to him, and they fell over. And it felt so good.
Let me just say, when I created my character in Mass Effect 1, it took every fiber of muscle in my body to not pick Vanguard. I love Vanguard so much, but I played Vanguard before, and I wanted to do something either I'd never played before or rarely played before. I think I did Engineer Biotic.
So Sentinel.
But God, Biotic Charge is just Sentinel. The best thing in the world.
Yeah, it's a good way to feel like a badass.
I do that too.
Yeah.
Oh, God, I love Biotic Charge. I miss it so much.
Yeah. Well,
I love just getting up close and personal. Shotgun is my thing.
Same.
Sword and yeah, that stuff would be my thing. So
I'm about the pistol.
it's a bit of a different playthrough for me. But
And MJ, you're a Sentinel, right?
Yes, which is tech and biotics.
Yeah, and you get the armor, which the second playthrough I ever did of this game, I did that because while I like being an offensive in-your-face player, melee attacks or shotguns, I'm also not particularly good at aiming, so I usually prefer extra defense. And so when I'm not playing a Russian character like that, I play something with extra defense. And so like the Sentinel is my second go-to because it's a nice mix.
I'm also playing a Sentinel this time around, and just having that armmer,
I love
first
the
off
power
looks so
armor.
cool in it. But I sometimes I forget I have it, and then I'm behind cover and just getting shot at, and suddenly I'm like, oh yeah, I could do this, and just turn it on. Oh yeah, that's better.
Why am I dying? Oh wait.
Well, that's me and the not the cryo, the incendiary ammo, because it's a power up in this game. I forget half the time to turn it on because when you switch weapons, it doesn't necessarily stay on. It's all like it's got a time limit, and like I'll pull out my shotgun, start shooting people, and go, oh shoot, and then like use the thing, which then kills my cooldown, which then I have to wait, and like it's a process, and I'm like, god damn it. Like ideally, I should turn it on before I go into combat, so it's on already, and then I have my cooldowns back up.
I think what you can do is you can put, if you have multiple different ammos, you can put one ammo on one gun and another on another gun. I think
that's right, yeah.
Which I never do.
Me neither.
I'm like, no, I don't have time for strategy like that. I'm going to biotic charge in. Because usually I'm a Vanguard. No time.
Ain't nobody got time for that. I think that's
But I'd say eventually you do get to turn back on the fans to get the things going, and eventually you do get to put the cure in.
Yes.
And then that pretty much...
that's really it.
Yeah.
What's really interesting about this game as opposed to the last game is a lot of the missions in the previous game, you had to like exit. Like you had to make your way to an exit. There wasn't a lot of time where it would just end, whereas there are a lot of missions in this game where once you complete the main task, you are magically warped back to wherever the home base area is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what happens here. The minute you put the cure in and turn on the fans, you end up, they assume uneventfully, you go back to Morden's lab and have your exchange with him.
Yeah, which makes sense because otherwise you're just backtracking and that's unnecessary walking.
Right.
So I'm not mad at it.
Oh, me neither. It's just something that I noticed.
No.
It's funny, though. I do enjoy that once you talk to Morden at the end of the mission and get him on your side, you can choose to not go right back to the Normandy, and you can interact with some folks around the clinic, and like they'll talk about how they'll miss Morden, how they don't know how they'll function without him. When you talk to Daniel, he's still salty that Morden would have killed them. But, like, genuinely everyone, no matter what Morden's methods are, everyone sees Morden as a hero in this clinic. Nobody has an ill thing to say about him. Which I think is really interesting.
I'm excited to have him as part of our crew. I think he adds a very interesting voice that contrasts Miranda and Jacob. And he is our first, like, alien squad mate. So you're deviating from Cerberus's usual MO by cooperating.
I think he even comments on that.
Yeah.
Like, unusual, Cerberus working with aliens. He's basically saying, like, must be bad if you're coming to me, huh?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm excited. I'm looking forward to working with Morden.
And then, of course, it goes right to the cutscene where you bring him to the ship, and Jacob's giving him the rundown. And this is one of my favorite moments also because, like, he starts to spin out again. Like, you mention how the collectors are kidnapping people, and he's, like, starts to assess it. And like, well, I wonder how they're doing it. Maybe they're doing this, or maybe they're doing that. And you can do a Paragon move where you politely go, relax, Doc, we got it. This is how they're doing it. We need you how to figure out how to counter it. But you're kind of polite about it. You're like, chill, I got you. Here's the info.
Actually holds up a hand, just like, yeah, no, we got it. I think on that one, once again, I let him play it out. I kind of viewed it as my Shepard, like, assessing Morden, like, how smart is this guy really? And just letting him arrive at the right conclusion.
Which, of course he would, yeah.
Of course.
Okay.
And then I think there was one more thing where it was one of my favorite things where he said, where Edie talks to him and he says, virtual intelligence? No, couldn't be. And then he says, like, couldn't be, but have to ask, is that an AI?
Yeah, well, the best part is when Edie first starts talking, the animation for him looking around, he looks so perplexed. Like, literally spinning. Like, I don't understand what's happening. It's just a really fun animation to see. And then, interacting with Edie. Yeah. Morton has some of my favorite interactions with other squad mates and with you. You know, I think when you first meet him is the gruffest he is, and then after that he's just fascinating.
He turns a bit more lighthearted, and I besides Joker, I think I'm willing to say he has the most different, unique dialogue interactions with him. Possibly, I don't know.
Definitely the most entertaining, I would say, because most of his conversations are very intriguing or interesting, or off the wall, as we discuss patter songs later. But yeah, okay. I'm excited to have him on the ship as well. I think he's a great addition to the team, and I immediately trust him because he's been so frank since moment one, which my Shepard definitely relates to.
So that was the professor.
Hooray!
Hey.
Yay! We got through a mission. Hopefully, not everyone will die.
Well, listen, spoilers.
You're a lot better off now that you have him.
That's definitely
true. We'll
see.
Let's move on to Fandom Corner, since we have now wrapped up the mission.
Yes.
So Drew brought us something called Marauder Shield Comics.
Excuse me while I bring them up.
No worries.
It's okay. I am ahead of you. I can drop it into the Discord if that would be of help. It is also in the outline.
That helps. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Because I was looking through our emails and looking for that link. I could have probably searched for it on Google. Dumb. Yes. I guess, how do you want me to just talk about it?
Yeah, just talk about it. Why do you like it?
Okay.
What is it? Go for it.
Well, when you asked me about, because I knew you did Fandom Corner, and you asked me about this, and this was the first thing I thought of. Basically what it is, it's this webcomic by this guy. He draws them. His name is Kubismo. And it's basically an alternate, not an alternate ending. It's like an expansion of one of the endings to Mass Effect 3. It takes it at first. It starts off a little. I guess. How much do you want me to talk about Mass Effect 3 here?
Let's say, if you have not played Mass Effect 3, you can go ahead and skip the rest of this podcast, I guess.
Yeah, why don't we do that?
If you haven't played Mass Effect 3, meet us back here in 2 weeks where we're going to explore the Archangel mission with our good friend David Boyle. So that is your spoiler alert. Please do not keep listening and then yell at us for spoilers. We have warned you.
Here there be spoilers.
Yeah, there you go.
So the Marauder Shields. The joke with Marauder Shields is that Marauder Shields is the quote-unquote name of the last enemy you encounter and like shoot and fight in Mass Effect 3 as you're charging towards the beacon.
Interesting.
Because this random Marauder comes out. A Marauder would be the Reaper enhanced Turian. And it comes out, and it's called Marauder Shields because it has a shield to it, so people just pretend like Shields is his last name. Mm-hmm. And what this comic does is that it says that Marauder Shields was actually someone like it's been a bit since I read through this, and I should have reviewed myself. When the ending of Mass Effect happens, whatever you choose, the Marauder Shields comics takes that ending and expands on it by saying that Shepard is actually alive and his body is laying out, and this Marauder Shields is left to defend him while the rest of the crew, and it keeps flipping back and forth between what the rest of the crew on Earth or wherever they are is doing to try and get to Shepard. And it's like leading towards this huge climactic fight throughout, I think there's like 60 of them now. And sadly, I believe they may have stopped because I think the artist ran into some health problems.
Aww, that's sad.
But they're super fun to read, and he kind of expands on the lore, takes the lore, and adds his own stuff. I believe what he ends up saying, and I thought this was genius, was that Marauder Shields actually turned out to be Nihilus, who the Turian Spectre from the first game.
Huh, interesting.
And the canon is that Nihilus's body was taken away by the Geth and indoctrinated on Sovereign and eventually wound up here. It's just really fun like that. I just really enjoy reading them, and I think other people would too. If you're a fan of Mass Effect, absolutely.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's really cool. I've been looking for the comic, like more than that one comic that you sent us, and I just dropped the gallery in our Discord chat.
Yes, there it is.
Excellent. Well, we'll definitely have to share that link in the show notes. I read the first comic, and the art style is gorgeous, actually. Like, it's really well drawn.
Yeah, it's really cool.
So,
admittedly, I think the first few kind of start off kind of as jokes. I think they even in the description say, head to episode 6 if you want, like, where it actually pops off, and he starts to expand and make a narrative out of it.
Yeah. It's really cool. I'm really excited to read these. Like, the art looks amazing.
It's great.
Okay, cool. So that's Koobismo, KOOBISMO, on DeviantArt, also on Twitter, and I think their website is also www.koobismo.com.
awesome.
So you can check out their art there. Cool. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. I can't wait to drop into the Discord server.
For sure. No problem. It was just the first thing I thought of.
Awesome. So we have no new reviews, but we do have 2 new emails.
I guess I'll read the first one.
Yes, you will, because it said so in that one.
Thanks. So we got an email from Michael K. So first of all, Mike, thanks for... Can I call you Mike? I'm going to call you Mike. Thanks, Mike. Mike sent us an email titled Solarians in ME1 Feelings of Alienation. And I'm going to read it here because it's not that long, and he talks about some really cool stuff. Hello, all. I've been listening to your podcast lately and quite enjoying your first game recap. Given how it is nearly universally considered the best in the franchise, I'm eagerly awaiting the beginning of your ME2 playthrough. I did notice something off about ME1 after listening to you. Well, 2 things. 1, is it just me, or are all the squad members of the Normandy oddly, pardon the term, alienated from their respective societies? Ha 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 ha. I often spend time on long drives kind of playing through what Netflix-style series would look like, and that theme kept popping up. Everyone has insight into their respective cultures and traditions and such, but with a sense of distance, dissatisfaction, or worry. Garrus is sick of CSEC corruption. Tali's an admiral's daughter on a pilgrimage. Caden's biotic training was highly traumatic.
Name right.
Ashley's feeling uneasy about human-alien relations post-war, and Rex is Rex. That is the best description of Rex, as usual.
Rex is Rex.
Rex is
definitely Rex.
Rex.
We rarely get any inside view on how things work or how the council species and the others view each other and themselves. It only gets more exaggerated in Game 2, with the exception of our Cerberus friends. I'd use the term friends loosely. So that was his first thought about alienation. His second thought, with that in mind, is it weird that we don't get a Solarian crew member in the game? I mean, we get at least to snag Kirahi after Vermeer or something. What little we learn about the Solarians always seems to come from side missions and quickly dismissing NPCs. Even getting the STG troopers aren't super informative about their society. Am I the only one who felt to be a curious mission, especially with Morden and ME2, more concerned with the genophage history and cultural insight? I'd love to hear your thoughts on the subject. I hope we get to hear more from you in the future. You guys are officially my favorite podcast on the Citadel. Aw. 2 PSs.
My heart.
There's PS and a PPS. The PS, my mom is also ride or die for Garrus. She's a big fan, as big a fan as I am, and I've got her listening to the pod as well. Shout out to Mike K's mom. Thanks for listening. And then PPS, also in ME2/3, am I the only one annoyed that Kate and Ashley are functionally interchangeable and have little to no difference in their character arc? Missed opportunity, very frustrating. BioWare, great at aliens, bad at humans, very odd. Yeah.
Same, though. I am also great at aliens and bad at humans.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Find that very relatable.
In response to your Solarian stuff, no, I agree. It does seem like they're kind of just strangely absent. I think my theory is that BioWare was testing out Solarians, like they liked the race, and like they have them on the council in a few other places, but they weren't sure what they wanted to do with them. And it wasn't until the completion of the first game and going into the second game, they're like, all right, now I have the kinds of ideas of things I'd want to do. Also, a doctor who can be prone to violence, who's obsessed with the genophage, makes sense as far as arcs go. And so I think they were building to that. I think having that in the first game with Rex might have been too confrontational and would have also taken the steam out of the confrontation Rex has with Shepard on Firmire if there was already a Solarian on the ship waxing eloquent about the genophage. That's my theory, at least.
My main point about Solarians is give us a Solarian romance, you cowards.
Right? Where is it? I want to make out with those frog-looking SOBs. Give it to me.
Treat them.
That is the most unique sentence I've heard all day.
I just want them treated as like viable options.
Yeah, I agree.
There's, excuse me, miss, get away from my desk. That was my cat Hera, who very much wanted to give her opinions on Solarians, but she is uninformed, and I do not want her opinions on this podcast.
That's fair. But the email from Mike, as I've now dubbed him, Mr. Mike K. Thank you for sending your email. Thanks to your mom for listening as well. Thank you for listening. We hope to hear more from you in the future. But we did get a second email as well, MJ, didn't we?
Yes. Give me 1 second because it's long and I kind of have to figure out what from it I'm going to read. So Isabella sent us this email. She is actually a fan of Lore Party and found us after I guested on Lore Party with the Good Boys. So she wrote to us a novel, and I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'm so sorry. It's just so very long. But you say a lot of really nice things, and I cried after reading
Same.
it. So let me read some of my favorite bits. Hi, MJ and Matt. I finally finished the first season of your podcast, and I absolutely loved it. MJ, I'm so happy you guested on Lore Party. Otherwise, I wouldn't have known about Reignite. You two are thoughtful, funny, and empathetic, and it has been a delight to listen to your thoughts. Matt, props to you for making me burst out laughing in the middle of the street with your Meteor-Bellion pronunciation. Only RuPaul and Michelle Visage have managed that on RuPaul's podcast when they were discussing misheard Mariah Carey lyrics, and I cried with laughter on the underground at rush hour.
Nice.
I hope you are ready for a novel-length email, because I really went to town with this one. Matt, did you want to say something before I continue?
I thought that was very sweet, and that I wish I could say I planned that laugh, but I'm glad I got it anyway. Also, we should mention that her handle is actually Grumpy Krogan, which is the best handle ever, because,
At Grumpy Krogan, at Grumpy Krogan on Twitter. Let's see. Instead of starting the work on my MSc thesis, I got sucked into this incredible universe with exciting aliens and badass humans, as well as beautifully crafted artwork and music. Let's see. I created a space war hero called Kima. I was watching The Wire then, and proceeded to kick serious ass. I fell in love with Liara, became best pals with Rex and Garrus, found a sister in Tally, annoying cousins in Kaden, and the boring Ashley, the racist, a space dad in Anderson, and a serious space uncle in Admiral Hackett. That's true. Admiral Hackett is a good space
It's
uncle.
true. He gets more limelight in this game and the next. We're only appearing as a voice in the first game and not very often.
I had never considered the possibility that hanging out with a fictional group of pals would make me feel so many things. I fell so hard for this game that I refused to jump into the second game until I reached a milestone with my thesis. I did replay ME1 a whole bunch of times, though. My logic was deeply flawed. Relatable.
Yeah. Been there.
So much relatable content. I was working on my thesis, I think, when I was replaying Mass Effect 3. That sounds right. Let me see. What else is really good? Like, all of this is really good content. We had a similar experience with LGBT representation with Romancing Liara. Let's see. There's just so much good stuff here. I just can't read all.
I do like her PS, which is that she's got a PhD in fire science and is a fire engineer, and so she loves the name of our podcast from a fire point of view as well. Which is good.
Can you imagine, though, if people who also have PhDs in fire science, like, look up our podcast and be like, oh, this is probably about, like, what I studied. Oh, wait, no, it's
Nope,
not.
definitely isn't.
What would what would that podcast even be about? I'm sure there's
Combustibles.
enough. I don't want to bash on that field, of course.
Okay, last paragraph. I am very excited to listen to your discussions on your playthroughs of the next Mass Effect games. I'm almost at the end of my Mass Effect 3 playthrough because I started playing before I discovered your pod, so I will replay Andromeda when Matt plays it. I enjoyed Andromeda a lot, and I am happy to hear some opinions that are not, oh my god, such a pile of shit, BioWare sucks, etc., which have plagued the internet. Even my own partner gave up on Andromeda after a few hours, much to my disappointment. So I'm very much looking forward to hearing who your space passes are in that game. Yeah, I have very specific opinions. Isa, at me on Twitter. We'll talk about it.
And
we'll talk about my space wife.
And I will ignore it because I don't want to be spoiled.
Well, slide into my DMs.
There
we'll
you
talk
go.
about it. It'll be fine.
There you go.
It'll be fine. But yeah, that was such a good email. Thank you so much to both Michael and Isa. If you would like to write us an email, tell us what your feelings are. We will be very, very happy to read them and to read them on air. It makes us feel really good because it makes us feel like we're doing something good.
Yeah, we could talk about Mass Effect at length anyway, but the fact that y'all listen and you enjoy it really warms our hearts and is really great. Also, we haven't gotten any recently, but if you decide that you're inclined to write a review either on iTunes or on Facebook recommending the podcast, we will read those reviews online. I'd like to believe we are a 5-star podcast, but you do as you will. I beg no 1-star reviews. If you listen to this and really don't like it that much, then just go away and you don't have to tell us.
5-star podcast, 3-star humans.
Yeah, that is true. But yeah, rate and review us because it really does help to get us featured and get more people to see the podcast. And I want to share as many people in this conversation as I can. So again, thank you, Michael and Isa. And yeah, I guess let's talk about what we're doing next.
Yep, next episode is going to be Archangel with our good friend, David Boyle. You may know him as the designer of our logo. Also one of my favorite humans in the world.
We literally thank him every episode. Who could Archangel be, everybody? Who knows?
Shut up. It went against every instinct in my body to do Professor first.
I know.
I have opinions.
I know. So
Okay.
We'll be doing Archangel next with David Boyle. Looking forward to that. It's actually one of my favorite missions in the game. It's a really good one.
Drew, please do some self-promotion. Where can people find you on the internet?
Thank you. If you want to, I'll just give my podcast Twitter. I don't care if you follow my personal one. At @headline_heroes. You can find me there. We post about our episodes. We have a Facebook group, and for some reason we have a subreddit. Ugh.
That's awesome.
Subreddit. So you can go ahead and follow us there. If anyone wants to follow my personal one, it's at oh my god, what is it? I think it's at Drew D Mick. So
I think that's
go
right.
ahead and
that sounds
yeah,
right.
that sounds right. But yeah, at @headline_heroes because @headline_heroes was already taken.
Yeah.
Oh no.
The plague of Twitter. My friend's podcast, the Infinity Pod, the Infinity Pod 1 on Twitter because the Infinity Pod is taken by a guy who hasn't tweeted in like 3 years.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's always exclusively someone who hasn't tweeted in like 4
Yeah.
years.
I ran into this with my new Tamara Pierce podcast. Yeah, so listen to Headline Heroes. It's really good.
Do it.
If you like what you heard here, follow us on social media. We are at ReignitePod on Twitter, Tumblr, and Instagram, Facebook.com/ReignitePod, or you can send us an email at reignitepod@gmail.com.
As I said earlier, rate, review, and subscribe. You can check out a ton of really cool stuff on my Patreon, patreon.com/Stormageddon. There's some stuff that MJ will make for you for the right price, fanfic. And
I will write you a fanfic.
Yeah, she will. She's done it for Case. You should ask him about it. Yeah.
Wait, don't ask him about it yet because I still haven't finished it.
She's working on it. But yeah, no, if
It's
you want to
gonna
get
be
some
about
cool
Ruby,
rewards
though, and I'm
for
excited.
my other podcast and this podcast and beyond, you can go to that Patreon. But otherwise, more importantly, please just rate, review, and subscribe on wherever you catch podcasts, because that really helps us get seen and featured and bring more people to the conversation.
We're members of the Certain Point of View Network. Visit certainpov.com to find more nerdy podcasts, each with a unique point of view. You can also find a permanent invite link to our Discord server on the website. Join the conversation.
Yeah, we love chatting about this podcast and the other stuff that we do. We're all big old nerds and just kind of post about, I mean, half the time the guys from Certain POV post about being hungry or that they had to use the restroom. So, like, we're just all regular people there.
And Rob also keeps sending us memes, which I'm really happy
Me
about.
too. But if you follow him on Facebook, or Twitter, it's pretty much the same. He's just a meme guy, and I am very thankful to have him in my life.
Also, thank you to Christina Spinks for our latest It's Okay to Be a Marshmallow t-shirt on Redbubble, featuring our favorite marshmallow, Kata Nolenko. You can find more of her work at Chaos Does Art on Instagram. We'd also like to thank David Boyle for designing our logo, which you can also get on a shirt through Redbubble, and Dan Bull for letting us use the Mass Effect rap for our theme song.
Yeah, I love that song and I love his raps. He just put out a new Assassin's Creed rap that is really awesome for an underrated Assassin's Creed game. I think Freedom it was called. Yeah, definitely go check out Dan Bull's stuff. He does some great work.
And that's it. We'll see you next
Yes,
time.
as always, remember that this is definitely my favorite podcast on the Citadel. And we should go.
And mine too. Hi, I'm Drew.
I'm Nate.
And I'm Tanner, and we are the hosts of Headline Heroes.
Every week we take a bizarre, out there article,
Germans build underground pipeline for beer.
and attempt to create a superhero or villain.
The obvious one is that they have a giant robot that runs off of beer.
Along the way, we discuss powers, design a costume, and of course, struggle with a name.
Graham Sam? No.
Sam, no!
And inevitably, we get off subject and talk about the really important stuff.
I did go to Bill Engvall's website, and I just want to tell you a couple of things I'm seeing here.
Please do, I wish you would. But we always arrive with the super creation we are proud of. Join Headline Heroes every Tuesday as we try to make reality a little more super.